Released on December 6th, 2024 for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox, Marvel Rivals is a free-to-play third-person hero shooter developed by NetEase Games in collaboration with Marvel Games. The game features 6 versus 6 player versus player combat with cross-play functionality across all platforms. The game's narrative premise centers around what's called the time stream entanglement, caused when Doctor Doom and his 2099 counterpart trigger a collision of timelines, creating merged realities where different variants of Marvel heroes and villains must fight either to restore the natural order or to exploit the chaos for their own gain. This setup allows NetEase to incorporate characters from across Marvel's vast multiverse while explaining why traditional enemies might fight alongside each other. And while I'm definitely tired of the overly used multiverse trope used by writers lacking in craft, it makes sense to use it here as a way to provide as much character variety to the player as possible, while also giving NetEase a truly massive character pool to draw from. Being a hero shooter, the gameplay structure revolves around 3 distinct character roles. Vanguards function as tanks with large health pools and defensive abilities. Duelists serve as primary damage dealers with offensive capabilities, and strategists provide healing and support utilities. Currently, the roster consists of 10 Vanguards, 20 duelists, and 8 strategists. What separates Marvel Rivals from its competitors is its dynamic hero synergy system, which enables special abilities when specific characters are paired together. These team-up abilities draw directly from comic book lore. Hulk can throw Wolverine in the classic fastball special, for example, adding both tactical depth and authentic Marvel fan service to the gameplay experience. But as always, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Marvel Rivals makes a strong first impression with its visual presentation, immediately establishing a distinct aesthetic that balances comic book stylization with competitive clarity. The art direct draws obvious inspiration from the source material while adapting it to the requirements of a competitive shooter where player readability is paramount. Character models generally succeed in capturing the essence of their comic counterpart while maintaining clear silhouettes that remain identifiable even during chaotic team fights. The attention to detail on characters is particularly impressive. Spider-Man's web effects leave temporary patterns on surfaces. Doctor Strange's mystical abilities feature intricate geometric patterns, and Iron Man's repulsor technology creates distinctive energy signatures that effectively communicate threat levels to opponents. There's also a good amount of cake and signs of more to come, which will certainly be a plus to gamers of culture across the world. However, the quality isn't entirely consistent across the roster. Some character skins feel less polished than others. One of the most egregious being Wolverine. They did not do him justice with his first skin. He looks kind of fat and the jacket is ugly. That's all I'll say on that subject. The game's 15 maps span iconic Marvel locations that showcase the diverse aesthetics of the Marvel Universe. Empire of Eternal Night brings gothic architecture and mystical elements. Hellfire Gala captures the opulence and intrigue of the X-Men's exclusive event. Hydra, Charteris Base, features militaristic industrial design. Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda blends Afrofuturism with cosmic sci-fi. Clintar introduces alien symbiote aesthetics with organic flowing structures. Tokyo 2099 delivers neon-soaked cyberpunk inspired by Marvel's 2099 timeline. And Isgard reimagines Asgard with far more distinctive mythological elements and that Marvel characteristic style. Each environment features a commendable level of detail, with environmental storytelling elements that reinforces the game's premise of colliding realities. But one of the game's most impressive visual features is its implementation of destructible environments. These elements serve both aesthetic and functional purposes, allowing players to alter sightlines, create new pathways, or eliminate enemy cover depending on the situation. Importantly, these destructible elements are balanced to enhance tactical options without fundamentally breaking map flow or creating unfair advantages. The UI design generally succeeds at conveying essential information without cluttering the screen, crucial for a visually busy hero shooter. Health bars, ability cooldowns, and team status indicators are all clearly visible without overwhelming the player's field of view. The end-of-match screens efficiently communicate performance metrics, and progression rewards with the one more round button prominently positioned to encourage continued play sessions. However, some UI and control scheme elements betray a lack of polish. This particular issue may have been patched by now, but at the time I played, the ping button for mouse and keyboard was set to middle click by default, which in itself is fine, but it was hidden from your control scheme when you go to the options menu to change things, and you could still rebind the middle mouse button to something else without being able to remap it to ping because the option wasn't there. The voice acting also deserved praise. It was pretty on point, and the character interactions were absolutely perfect. These character-specific voice lines and interactions between heroes and villains added not only a lot of personality, it reinforced the Marvel Universe connections that comic fans will appreciate. Small touches like Spider-Man's quips during combat, or Thor's boastful declarations help characters feel authentic rather than generic shooter avatars, and they bring life to the characters in ways you would expect of them. At its fundamental level, Marvel Rivals builds upon established hero shooter conventions while introducing several distinctive elements that help carve out its own identity in a crowded genre. The game's third-person perspective immediately distinguishes it from first-person competitors like Overwatch or Valorant, creating a different relationship between the player and character that emphasizes the embodiment of these iconic heroes. The movement mechanics deserve particular attention, as they're central to the game's success in translating Marvel characters into playable avatars. Unlike many shooters that offer relatively homogeneous movement options, with minor variations in speed or jump height, Marvel Rivals commits to authentic movement systems that genuinely reflect each character's comic book capability. One of my first observations when playing was that the devs actually tried to properly emulate the character's power sets. I was honestly a bit worried that they wouldn't do that very well, but this commitment to character authenticity creates widely divergent gameplay experiences depending on hero selection. Spider-Man employs web-swinging, wall climbing, and acrobatic double jumps for unparalleled vertical mobility. Iron Man uses repulsor technology for sustained flight, though at speeds unfortunately balanced for competitive fairness and not fast enough for my personal liking. Doctor Strange can create portals for instant repositioning and team transportation, and the Hulk builds momentum through rage-fueled leaps that increase in power as he engages in combat. This diversity in movement options creates distinct gameplay rhythms for each character, while expanding the tactical possibilities available to coordinated teams. Different characters definitely have different levels of skill required to play them, and the difficulty rating system of 1 to 5 stars provides clear guidance about mechanical complexity without restricting player choice. The combat system eschews traditional shooter conventions, avoiding aim-down sights mechanics in favor of ability-focused engagements. This isn't a twitchy shooter like Call of Duty or other similar FPS franchises. This is very much in the realms of Overwatch or Paladins. This design choice prioritizes positioning, ability usage, and cooldown management over raw aiming precision, though the latter still matters quite a bit, particularly for characters like Hawkeye and Black Widow, who emphasize precision attacks. Each character possesses a unique set of active abilities tied to their comic book powers, along with an ultimate ability that charges over time. These movesets are thoughtfully designed to create distinctive playstyles even within the same role category. For example, among Vanguards, Hulk employs a rage mechanic where he goes a stage angrier and a stage stronger with his ultimate. Doctor Strange focuses on spatial control through portal creation and mystic barriers. Captain America utilizes his shield for both offense and defensive protection. Thor channels the Thor Force to enhance his already formidable combat capabilities. The team-up abilities system represents Marvel Rivals' most innovative gameplay contribution to the hero shooter genre. These abilities activate when specific hero pairs are selected on the same team, enabling unique cooperative actions. These team-ups consist of an anchor character, who imparts the ability, and an ally who receives it, and they fall into two categories. Passive, which you automatically activate when the required heroes are present, and sometimes in proximity to each other, and active, which requires specific button inputs to trigger after meeting the prerequisites. Examples include the already mentioned Fastball Special, where Hulk can throw Wolverine at enemies, which is a callback to the X-Men comics, and it creates an authentic Marvel moment alongside the meaningful tactical option. The competitive implications of this system are substantial. Players must weigh the advantages of potential team-up abilities against individual character preferences and overall team composition needs. This creates an additional layer of strategic depth during the character selection phase that rewards both Marvel knowledge and tactical understanding. The three-role structure I mentioned earlier provides a framework for team composition while establishing clear gameplay expectations for each category. Vanguards serve as the front line, with large health pools and abilities focused on area control and damage mitigation. Intended to lead the charge, this class is designed to tank hits and use their skills to shield teammates, ward off enemies, and create or block pathways using various kinds of shield or portal. Duelists focus on offensive output through various means, from Punisher's arsenal of firearms to Psylocke's psionic blades. As their name implies, duelists are designed for single target combat, with the majority of their abilities being offense-oriented. Strategists provide the support backbone through healing, buffs, and utility abilities. These heroes can provide that constant healing or combat boosts necessary to win the fight, but some strategists, like Loki, have additional tactical abilities to distract opponents. Within these broad categories, characters exhibit considerable variation in playstyle. For instance, amongst strategists, Jeff the Landshark offers straightforward healing with a 1-star difficulty rating ideal for newcomers, while the aforementioned Loki employs complex illusion mechanics at a 4-star difficulty that rewards experienced players with its greater utility. The 6v6 format strikes a balance between the larger team battles, common in some shooters, and the more intimate engagements of smaller team formats. The structure allows for varied team compositions while ensuring that individual player performance remains impactful. The game doesn't force specific team compositions through role locks, instead trusting players to develop effective combinations organically. With 38 currently playable characters and a 39th announced for future release, Marvel Rivals launches with a roster size that many hero shooters only achieve after several updates. This extensive selection spans the breadth of Marvel's universe, from Avengers mainstays to X-Men favorites and more obscure additions that most people would have never heard of. The character selection demonstrates thoughtful curation, balancing iconic figures that casual fans will recognize, deeper cuts that will appeal to comic enthusiasts. As noted by the game's creative director, quote, "When it comes to designing characters in our game, we usually dive really deep into the background and personality of each Marvel character, so every character's gameplay mechanic and skill is really crafted to reflect who these heroes really are in the comics." This philosophy is evident in choices like Jeff the Landshark and Penny Parker, which also shows awareness of broader gaming trends while still maintaining Marvel authenticity. The current roster distribution also reveals a clear emphasis on damage dealing. The imbalance reflects common player preferences in hero shooters, where damage rolls typically see higher selection rates. However, the more than 2-to-1 ratio of duelists to strategists potentially creates issues for team composition in the absence of a role queue system. The limited number of support options means less variety for players who prefer that playstyle, potentially leading to staleness or reduced experimentation in the support role. The balance approach in Marvel Rivals combines foundational role definition with subtle adjustments through seasonal bonuses. Each character type receives specific seasonal buffs. Vanguards gain additional health, duelists get increased damage, and strategists enjoy bonus healing. This system allows developers to subtly influence the meta, without dramatic character reworks that might alienate players who have invested time mastering specific heroes. The selective application of these bonuses, indicated by a yellow icon during character selection, enables targeted balance adjustments for heroes that are underperforming or overperforming relative to their intended power level. The implementation of hero bans at Diamond 3 rank and above through the Cosmic Selection system adds another layer of balance management, specifically for high-level play. It allows each team to vote to ban heroes for the entire match. This feature acknowledges that certain character combinations may be particularly powerful in coordinated team environments without restricting their availability in casual or lower-ranked play. And this is particularly true for characters like Hela, Hawkeye, and Doctor Strange, because Hawkeye can use a headshot to one-shot the majority of healers and damage dealers. Hela also deals a hell of a lot of damage from headshots, and Doctor Strange's ultimate ability can be used to quickly change the outcome of battles, and his portal is a very flexible skill. The absence of a role queue system creates unique balance challenges, as teams may potentially field compositions heavily skewed towards those damage characters. And without structural enforcement of balanced teams, NetEase need to ensure that support and tank characters remain appealing enough to maintain reasonable team distributions. The limited number of strategists compared to duelists exacerbates this challenge, potentially leading to repetitive support gameplay at higher levels, but hopefully they'll fill out the roster with more options for players to enjoy. Marvel Rivals offers 5 primary game modes, each offering distinct objectives that encourage different strategic approaches. Convoy functions as a classic escort mission with offensive and defensive teams. The goal of the offense is to capture a cart or other moving object and escort it across the map. The goal of the defense is to stop the attack and retake the cart. This creates a tug-of-war dynamic where positioning and team coordination are paramount. Victory in this mode requires disciplined, objective focus to make sure that the offense team don't succeed in escorting to the end of the map. Domination centers on control point capture, where both sides target a single point. The opposing team will gradually accumulate points when a point is scored until they reach 100%. This creates intense focal points for engagement, where area control abilities become particularly valuable. The first team to capture 2 points wins, encouraging aggressive play while maintaining reasonable match lengths. Convergence cleverly combines elements from both previous modes. Attacking the first checkpoint on the map and securing it by standing inside is the goal of the offense. The goal of defense is to hold the checkpoint until the match timer goes to 0. The mode changes to convoy style if the offense is able to capture the checkpoint in the meantime. This hybrid approach creates distinct phases within a single match, requiring teams to adapt their strategies mid-game. The first team to 50 points wins, providing a clear victory condition that prevents matches from dragging on. Doom Match offers a free-for-all alternative to team-based gameplay. The sole objective of the match is to accumulate the most final hits before the match concludes, with up to 12 players spawning across the map. This mode plays out on the Sanctum Sanctorum map, which features portals and teleportation areas that create unique tactical opportunities, and the ability to fire through portals in particular can be advantageous for eliminating unaware enemies. These core modes are supplemented by limited time offerings tied to seasonal events. Jeff's Winter Splash Festival, which is the winter celebration event, drew inspiration from Splatoon with territory control through paint mechanics. Clash of Dancing Lions, which is a Fortune and Colors event, introduced a football-inspired 3v3 mode reminiscent of Lucio Ball. The previously mentioned Sanctum Sanctorum map demonstrates this with its portal mechanics. The implementation of destructible environments adds another layer of tactical depth, allowing players to alter the battlefield to their advantage. This feature creates dynamic encounters where terrain manipulation becomes a meaningful consideration alongside hero selection and ability usage. Map design shows careful consideration of mode-specific requirements. Convoy and convergence maps feature appropriate checkpoint spacing, with strategic choke points and alternative routes for flanking maneuvers. Domination maps ensure the control points are positioned to create meaningful tactical decisions, about approach angles and defensive setups. Conquest maps emphasize open spaces with scattered cover to facilitate the resource collection mechanic central to the mode, and special event modes typically featured modified versions of existing maps or entirely new locations tailored to their unique mechanics. For example, Clash of Dancing Lions is set in the World Arena, which is a new Wakanda map specifically made for this mode. Marvel Rivals employs a progression ecosystem that seemingly balances competitive advancement, cosmetic collection, and monetization in a primarily free-to-play framework. This multi-layered approach creates numerous engagement hooks that serve both casual and hardcore players. The competitive ranking system features 8 distinct tiers that provide clear progression milestones for serious players. Compared to the ranks beneath them, the Eternity and One Above All ranks function quite differently. There are no tiers in either of these rankings. Once you reach Eternity, the goal is just to accumulate as many competitive points as you can. The Elite One Above All rank is reserved for the top 500 players at season settlement, creating an exclusive aspiration for the most dedicated competitors. The implementation of the Chrono Shield system provides a buffer against immediate rank demotion after a loss. This mechanic reduces some competitive anxiety while still maintaining system integrity, as players who consistently lose will still eventually derank. The Secondary Valuable Player system, SVP, further refines the ranking experience by recognizing exceptional individual performance by not losing any ranked points for the game. This feature helps mitigate frustration from losses despite strong personal performance, reducing the potential toxicity that often plagues competitive games. At Diamond 3 rank and above, competitive play introduces the previously discussed Cosmic Selection ban system, where each player can vote for one hero at the start of the round to add characters to the ban slot. Tournament play modifies this ban system further. Team commanders are the only ones who choose heroes. There is no voting process. Each team leader has the option to designate one character to be shielded from the opponent team's ban and 2 characters to be banned. This distinction between ranked and tournament play demonstrates an understanding of the different requirements for organized competition versus public matchmaking. And finally, at the end of each season, a rank reset occurs, where your rank will be reduced by 7 tiers. This creates a fresh competitive landscape while still acknowledging previous performance. Marvel Rivals employs a 3-currency system that separates premium purchases from gameplay progression. Lattice is the premium currency purchased with real money. It can be exchanged for other currencies at a 1-to-1 rate, but can't be used to buy anything directly. Units are the currency used for cosmetic purchases. These can mainly be obtained by exchanging lattice for them, and rarely you may see them given out as rewards. Chrono tokens are the primary earnable currency. These are used to buy items from the seasonal battle pass and are obtained by completing its various missions. This structure creates a clear separation between premium and earnable content while establishing convergent paths between currencies. However, you won't be able to buy all battle pass items unless you buy the luxury battle pass. The monetization focuses exclusively on visual customization using cosmetic skins based on alternative takes of Marvel characters. This approach avoids gameplay advantages for paying players while leveraging the vast Marvel multiverse for compelling cosmetic variations. Some units can be earned through challenging achievements, which tend to involve specific interactions with characters, such as defeating enemies with a certain skill. This creates a limited free path to premium cosmetics for highly dedicated players, and additional earning opportunities can come through events, surveys, and other promotions that can also get you some free tokens, though these represent more supplementary rather than primary acquisition methods. NetEase wasted no time establishing competitive infrastructure for Marvel Rivals, announcing the inaugural edition of the Marvel Rivals Championship, an esports tournament which is set to take place from March 8th through April 6th, 2025, and will have a prize pool of $14,500. This rapid deployment of organized competition less than 4 months after launch demonstrates serious commitment to establishing the game as a competitive platform. The company's strategic intent was further confirmed during an early call held by NetEase in February 2025, where they confirmed plans to further develop an esports scene around the game. This public commitment to shareholders indicates that competitive play represents a core pillar of the game's long-term strategy, rather than just being a marketing afterthought. And their competitive framework shows fairly sophisticated design, with features specifically tailored for high-level play, like the previously discussed cosmic selection ban system used for tournaments, network infrastructure, and matchmaking. Perhaps the most prominent technical praise concerns matchmaking efficiency. Games are really quick to get into, which suggests both a healthy player population and well-designed queue systems that efficiently group players of similar skill levels. Fast queue times are crucial for player retention, as extended waits between matches often lead to session abandon. The implementation of crossplay across PlayStation, Xbox, and PC represents another significant technical achievement. Maintaining balance between different input methods, controller versus mouse and keyboard, while ensuring consistent experience across platforms requires a careful system design, and server stability also seemed really robust. There were no signs of disconnections, lag spikes, or other network-related issues during any of the matches I played. This reliability is particularly impressive given the rapid scaling required to support the 40 million players who jumped on the game within 2 months of launch. Marvel Rivals is a substantial entry into the hero shooter genre that leverages the Marvel license intelligently rather than relying on it as a mere marketing crutch. The game successfully balances accessibility for newcomers with depth for competitive players, establishing a foundation for potential long-term success in a crowded market. The game's greatest strengths lie in its authentic character designs that genuinely capture the essence of their comic book counterparts, intuitive movement mechanics, diverse game modes that offer meaningful strategic variety, and solid hero shooter gameplay. The progression systems balance competitive depth with accessible rewards through a comprehensive rank structure and non-expiring battle pass. The secondary valuable player system deserves particular commendation for recognizing exceptional individual performance even in defeat, reducing the frustration that often leads to toxicity in teams-based games. However, several issues prevent Marvel Rivals from achieving its full potential. The unnecessarily complex three-currency system creates needless friction in the monetization process. The requirement to convert premium currency rather than use it directly adds an extra step that serves no clear purpose beyond obscuring transaction values. The role distribution reveals a clear imbalance, with 20 duelists compared to just 10 vanguards and 8 strategists. This disparity, combined with the absence of a role queue system, potentially creates team composition challenges if too many players gravitate towards damage roles. While the flexibility to experiment with various compositions is valuable, the limited support options may lead to repetitive gameplay at higher levels. Another strange but unfortunately understandable flaw is speed and pacing. Every single character feels slow, and in a hero shooter like this, it makes sense for them to move at the speed they do in the maps that they have. It allows the developers to manage movement through maps and how this action flows, and generally it's good design. However, in this case, it does remove some immersion and connection to the characters. All of these characters are superhuman beings. It is a bit odd to feel them plodding along when they should be moving really, really fast. Saying all that, for a free-to-play title, the value proposition is undeniable. The absence of any upfront costs, combined with full access to all gameplay relevant content, means players can experience the complete game without financial investment, and the game successfully captures the fantasy of controlling Marvel heroes while establishing its own gameplay identity distinct from other hero shooters. This game wasn't quite my cup of tea because I'm not a big fan of hero shooters, but if you are a fan of Overwatch or other hero shooters of this type and you're looking for a solidly made, fun, and well-populated alternative, it's well worth your time and money. Feel free to leave your thoughts and feedback in the comments below. I always appreciate it, and it really does help me make something you can trust and value to give you as much useful analysis and information as possible when you're planning to buy and play a new video game with your hard-earned money. Hit the subscribe button, maybe even hit the bell button, and hit whichever thumb you think this video deserves. And as always, my people, take care of yourselves.